strangers to friends to lovers to enemies to uneasy allies to friends to enemies to friends to enemies to friends to enemies to friends to lovers. Hello. Hi. Welcome to another episode of Tea and Toffees, a twice monthly podcast. I'm your host, Nightshayd. How do you do?
How do you do? And hi, I'm Cecilia. I was a witch in my previous life.
Where are you? Where's your proof?
Well, can you dig through my memories?
No.
And then I can't give you any proof.
As promised and announced and whatnot, we are here today to talk about X-Men. So I wanted one episode, Cecilia. Why can we never manage that?
You know, you made that sound so accusing if it's my fault. When between the two of us, who is going to talk the most? I prepared about 1/3 of an episode because I was considerate like that.
You just don't want to talk.
I mean, I just don't have that many comments. I don't do as much research as you do. I don't have enough, so much background knowledge from, the starting point. So, yeah.
What research? So, we're at 2 parts again. I have divided things as follows. This episode has some background overview where Cecilia can talk. On comics, where Cecilia cannot talk. I will talk a lot about comics without actually talking a lot about comics. Cherik, obviously, definitely, very important. And then an interlude to recap the first trilogy on Wolverine's side adventures with commentary I was too lazy to sort into categories.
Lazy Nightshayd.
We're doing a podcast, not video essays. I'm allowed to not sort this into categories.
You sure about that?
The next episode will continue with the interlude, because it's 2 episodes now, to recap the reboot, which is not a trilogy. What is it, a tetralogy? Is that what you call it?
I have no clue. I'm trilogy. I don't even know if it were if you have 4 or 2. I only know trilogy and standalone. Any other number of films, no clue what they are called.
Duology for 2 films. So it might be tetralogy.
Oh.
Yeah, because it's original trilogy, Wolverine trilogy, reboot something, Deadpool trilogy we will do next episode. More commentary I was too lazy to sort into categories. And then inconsistencies. So many inconsistencies. But yeah, no, we are
a lot of films.
Obviously mainly talking about the Fox X-Men film franchise, Fox X-Men movie franchise, whatever. None of the other adaptations, there are animated series and whatnot. I have seen them. I am ignoring them for the sake of this episode because I wouldn't have had time to read and watch all of that.
Yes, that is true. I've never seen them, not even once, and I didn't have the time to watch them 2 times.
Yeah, we are looking at 13 out of 14 films as of recording of this episode. I will show them on screen and quickly read them out loud. So we have X-Men X2, X-Men The Last Stand, X-Men Origins Wolverine, X-Men First Class, The Wolverine, X-Men Days of Future Past, Deadpool, X-Men Apocalypse, Logan, Deadpool 2, and X-Men Dark Phoenix. And well, now it's Deadpool and Wolverine as well added to that. So, Deadpool is such an outlier. Not sure how much we will cover that in the context of the rest, but there's also The New Mutants, which is a spin-off film. And it was the last to be made before the rights of the X-Men film franchise returned to Marvel Studios, so it was made before Deadpool and Wolverine came out. We did not watch this one. My reasoning for that is that the characters do not interest me, and I'm assuming they wouldn't have interested you either, Cecilia. And also, I personally do not like horror films. It just doesn't really fit in with the rest of the films. It just does not.
I just listened to Nightshayd, who said, "Don't watch this film. It's not worth it."
It's a horror spin-off. Why?
I mean, I'm not opposed to horror. Maybe I will check it out later.
Yeah. Personally, I enjoy most of these films immensely, but they are a mixed bag when it comes to overall quality. We'll see how Marvel handles the franchise going forward, if they do anything with it at all. Because apparently, except for Deadpool and Wolverine, having come out very recently as of recording, they haven't really done much with them yet. They haven't really done much
have to see.
of anything.
Yeah, before that, Fox has had the rights to the X-Men films for a long time. Not anymore, so now we have to wait and see what the Marvel Studios are doing with it. But for now, as always, we start with the comics. And for once, I had time to do at least some research.
We're not starting with the comics. This is all background stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The comics come after the background information.
But we usually start with comics.
I mean, the comics are part of the background, yes. But like I said, we're starting with background information. So go on, tell us the background of the X-Men.
The comics are where I started my research. Okay. The X-Men franchise is part of Marvel, one of the multiple superhero groups. The comics were created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and the first X-Men comic series within the X-Men comic franchise is The X-Men, which was later renamed to Uncanny X-Men for some reason. And the first volume of this series was published in September 1963, which the X-Men have been around for like more than 60 freaking years. That is a long time. They are old. Wow.
Fox film franchise is obviously based on the Marvel comics without being part of the MCU, except for Multiverse of Madness, where we got a cameo. Ignoring the Deadpool and Wolverine implications as of recording this, it just came out, and it's not technically it hasn't made it part of the MCU yet. So
yeah.
Also spoilers, but by the time the episode comes out, the film has been out for a longer time.
Yeah, multiple weeks for people.
Months, maybe.
Months, maybe. Long time, so that people had lots of opportunities to go into the cinema and watch it.
Yes.
If they wanted to.
The X-Men are not the only films that are Marvel without being MCU. Those films tend to be forgotten. Ghost Rider, for example. Those films, we watched those this year. They are Marvel without being MCU.
We did?
Yes, we did. The dude who he rides a motorbike, whatever they're called, and he turns into like a fairy skull person.
Oh yeah.
Fiery?
Yeah, that
Fiery?
one.
Fiery? Anyway, Fire Skull.
Fiery.
Yeah. He had a deal with Mephistopheles and all that shit.
I vaguely remember.
There's also the Blade films. It's a trilogy. Blade is a vampire hunter, for your information, Cecilia. He's super cool. He's awesome.
If you say so.
The first two Spider-Man trilogies, because we have 3 Spider-Man. Somehow I want a trilogy anyway, whatever. But we had the first 2 Spider-Man trilogies. Obviously, are Marvel, but not MCU. Fantastic Four as well. Some super old ones. Howard the Duck has his own film.
He has his own film?
Yeah. And I could be wrong, but I believe quite a few of all those non-MCU Marvel films, I haven't even listed them all, were made by Fox. Not all of them, but most of them.
Interesting.
Okay, now comics. Ready?
Okay.
Set?
Ready.
Go. Nothing about the films is truly film original, obviously. Certainly none of the characters, but some story elements underwent significant changes from comic to film. The first, especially of the original trilogy, didn't really adapt any storylines. Wasn't really a thing back then. But yeah, none of the characters are original. None of the main mutant characters, Not even the villains. They just changed stuff. And before I really go into it, let me say, right here at the beginning, let me say this. Mystique has one of the best outfits in the entirety of the X-Men comic franchise, hands down. And I am really mad that they made her naked in the films. Because why? Why? And I'm with first class Charles here. Like, feel free to be your blue self, Mystique, but for goodness sake, don't run around naked. And then don't do the splits while you're naked. What the heck? So, for the people who have never read the comics and never looked at them here, look at this. She looks freaking awesome, especially for an old comic superhero villain/hero, because superheroes and supervillains have the wackiest outfits. Classic Loki. Might I remind you? So to the left, this is one of her earliest X-Men appearances. She debuted in a different comic. I believe that was the Marvel, Miss Marvel, or whatever she did, Carol Danvers, when one of her early runs is where Mystique, but that never went anywhere. But yeah, this is one of her earliest X-Men, and you can see I've put the full scene in there, so you can see the other outfits. And to the right, we have one of her more recent versions, which I love this outfit.
Yes, it does look amazing.
The skulls, I believe, originally they were an utility belt. Like she had bombs and stuff in the skull belt, but these days it's just an accessory. Technically, she is still naked because technically that's part of her mutation transformation, but like.
She doesn't look naked, at least.
Here are some of her other outfits. She has one of the best outfits, generally, just for a comic especially.
The white goes really well with her blue skin and red hair. And I also really like the hairstyles she has. Because in the films, it's like all this gel and gel back, and it's like, I didn't like her hairstyle. She didn't have an outfit, and I'm looking at these and I'm like, nice outfits, nice hairstyles. Why films? Why didn't we get this?
There is a comic version that looks like the film version because they modeled it after the film version. With the scales and the nakedness and all that, but we are ignoring that.
Yes.
Yeah, her outfits in general, just for an old comic especially, are freaking awesome. I understand why they would be embarrassed about other comic outfits. Although Deadpool and Wolverine has proven them wrong, but not Mystique. She's awesome. She's wearing skulls. I love her. Her outfit is so cool.
They did her dirty with this.
Anyway, comics.
Yeah, I wonder how long it will take until we cover a show, film, series similar, which is based on comics, but you haven't read the comics.
Who knows? If we get around to Yu-Gi-Oh! As of right now, I have read the manga, but you haven't.
I have read parts of the manga.
Yeah, but that's kind of ironic because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is one of your all-time favorites.
I have read the entirety of the Arc 5 manga.
That doesn't count.
That doesn't count?
That doesn't count.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've read.
I have to start getting I have to get started actually reading those, so that by the time we actually record the Yu-Gi-Oh! Episode, I'm done with those.
Yeah. Anyway, while I have read a lot of comics from Marvel in particular, I haven't actually read that many X-Men comics. I mean, I'm mostly into Venom and Loki-centric ones, with a few side dishes of other issues. I mean, let's be honest, I only read what little I did read of the X-Men comics for the Professor X and Magneto interactions. Alright. Comics, oh gosh. I don't know, I feel like I have to say this every time I do Marvel stuff, and if we ever do DC. It is not true for all comics series out there, but for Marvel, everything depends on the writer. Because the writers changed.
Constantly.
Yes, they don't do that for every comic series out there, but Marvel does it. And it's on one side great in that you get a different interpretation and a disappointment may yet turn around, and it is also super duper not great in that nothing lasts and your favorite things can and will be destroyed when a new writer comes around. Yay.
Fun.
Which also means that characterizations are inconsistent, so an adaptation can never ever be faithful to every comic issue. Impossible. Okay. Unlike the Fox franchise not yet really being part of the MCU, the comic X-Men are of course part of the entire Marvel Universe, main Earth 616, and they do intersect with, for example, the Avengers occasionally.
Huh. That's actually quite nice.
Yeah. But yeah, no single writer, no single artist would be impossible considering how many characters there are and how long they have been running. I mean, Marvel has been around since 1939. It wasn't really Marvel back then, I believe, but it's like, that's the origins of 1939. You can't just have a single writer and artist for all of that.
They are approaching 90 years.
It's so old, so big, it's impossible, but it's... Yeah, they change so frequently. It's more frequently than necessary, in my opinion, so... Yeah, continuity issues are bound to happen, and you get so many retcons, and Some circumvented by just going into different universes, but no, not all of them. Most of them are in the main one, and that's just... But for all that the films are super inconsistent and retcon themselves fairly often, the comics are actually known to have by comic standards, a fairly good continuity, referencing events from very old issues quite frequently. For comic standards.
The 4 comic standards being very important, so not at all.
Exactly. Good continuity for comic standards means there is no continuity, but yeah. X-Men were pretty early in Marvel comic history during the Silver Age in the 1960s, around the same time as Loki, by the way, also Silver Age character.
Loki.
The original X-Men are ones you will recognize from the films this year.
Ooh.
Professor X, of course.
Obviously.
With his team of Cyclops, Beast, Angel, Iceman, and Jean Grey. Marvel Girl. Magneto as their enemy is also featured right in the first issue.
Mm-hmm.
Scarlet Witch and her twin Quicksilver was sometimes Magneto's biological children and sometimes not. And his asteroid headquarters come also pretty early in the issues.
Huh. Yeah, that's so.
Yeah. Okay. So
right.
Cyclops is God, right? Easy. Marvel Girl is Jean, also easy.
I have one question regarding Marvel Girl. What exactly are her powers? Because that kept confusing me a little bit because it always seemed like she could do everything. It's
telepathy and telekinesis. Pretty versatile.
Yeah, so she really can do everything with those 2 combined.
Yep.
Huh.
Yep. Pretty much. She's pretty strong as well. Angel, the one with the angel wings, not the fairy girl, who's also called Angel, appears
she was also
twice in the film franchise as 2 very different people, and neither are really all that important. This role was even cut from the first 2 original film trilogies. But yeah, Angel is one of the OG 5. Beast wasn't blue back then. I mean, I read the originals and I didn't get the impression, but people say that original Hank was the most relevant of the bunch, despite his Beast-like appearance, but I didn't get that impression from the original one. Anyway, but yeah, pretty early on, Beast was like Beast appearance, but very intelligent. He mutated into the blue version about a decade later, 1970s-ish, not quite sure, but before the films, definitely. That's a comic thing, but he originally was just not, he was not blue originally. Iceman was reduced to a side character and love interest for Rogue in the films, which I don't think ever happened in the comics. I mean, romances are complicated. Let's just look at how many people Wolverine has.
Yes.
But anyway, I vaguely remember some controversy about Iceman being outed as gay in one of the later comics, but it's been a while. He's also covered in snow in the early comics. It looks ridiculous.
I can imagine.
Yeah, Wolverine and Storm and Nightcrawler were introduced about a decade after the first one, so 1970s-ish. Colossus, who you might recognize from the Deadpool films.
Yes, I do.
There was a whole thing about Cyclops leading the new team to rescue the old one, and then Jean had to use her abilities to save them all, but ostensibly dies only to emerge as the Dark Phoenix. It was a thing.
Yada yada.
Dark Phoenix is regarded as one of the best comic arcs ever, also introduces more familiar faces, and then it's just more and more and more and more X-Men characters being introduced. Rogue, by the way, who was pretty important in the first film, started out as a villain, was eventually dropped off at Professor X's school by her adoptive mom, Mystique. And she was a badass, not a whiny teenager. Comic Rogue is a badass. Comic Rogue also marries Gambit, who you know have met here properly.
I think I would have preferred Comic Rogue.
Yes, she was really, really cool. Anyway, with our only X-Men franchises, there are so many stories the films could have drawn inspiration from. I'm not really well versed enough to judge that. I did read part of the original run and the Dark Phoenix saga, but let us just say that the first run of the X-Men comics is super weird and wacky. One could almost say uncanny. Wink, wink.
Yes.
But I mean, comics of the time usually are like that, and that is not my thing personally. I prefer the more recent Recent being 2000s, 2010s, but
yes, recent in the history of the X-Men.
I'm
comics.
still not over the fact that location of Asgard was like 2014, 15 or something. I remember that as if it were yesterday. I read that when it came out. Oh my gosh, I'm old.
10 years.
I'm old.
Yes, you are.
Anyway, incidentally, the release of the first Fox X-Men film, year 2000, by the way, also had a very huge impact on the comics, because the comic X-Men underwent a rather drastic change to become more similar to the film's portrayal. Not identical, not even the exact same team, but similar vibes. Like, suddenly there are considerably less mutants in the world now, changing their standing in society. The population of mutants was considerably larger prior to the film. Cyclops and Beast remained on the main team. We got Wolverine as permanent partner, also Emma Frost. You know her now.
Yes, I know her.
What? I read House of M. I read that one. It's pretty. It stayed in my mind pretty much. I think that one doesn't actually take place in the main universe. So it's not technically part of the main canon, but also it is. It's complicated. As the title may suggest, it heavily features Magneto. The focus is on his daughter, the Scarlet Witch. In this one, she is his daughter. And there was some connection to Civil War. I think this one was explaining why the X-Men were part of the Civil War stuff, going down with the Avengers and stuff. Also,
Avengers Civil War
kind of wipes out the mutants, because Wanda erases the X gene, and that after Charles's evil twin sister had already wiped out a considerable chunk of mutant kind by attacking Genosha, aka Mutant Nation led by Magneto. And he, as a seer, would have gone, the F do you mean Charles' evil twin sister wiped them out? But, alas, the latest Deadpool film spoiled the fun. Oh well.
Who? What? But now I hear, yeah, that woman. Checks out. I can see her doing that. My red just not. Who? What?
But yeah, I mean, I would have just been like, yeah, okay, so like Wanda erases the X genes and no more mutants, and but that after Charles was, yeah, it was such a fun. No. Now everyone knows who she is.
Nope.
Yeah, no, it's like before Deadpool and Wolverine came out, everyone would have, people who haven't read the comics would have been like, what the F? What the F? They did capture her.
Spoiled.
They did capture her pretty well, though. And I say that without having actually read her in the comic. I haven't read her comic issues that she features in. But from what I know about her, I think they got her pretty well. Kind of. She might have been more evil in the comics. I think she was more evil. Eviler. Evil, the evilest.
Evil.
After that, after House of M, you kind of lose me because things got overly complicated. But I do remember, I think I read the Krakoa arc, because at one point Professor X and Magneto formed some, I think it was called the Silent Council, with a bunch of mutants at least. They were like leaders of a mutant nation in Utopia or something. Apocalypse was part of that council. But yeah, Krakoa. Krakoa is kind of a successor to Genosha, but Krakoa also got destroyed. It was somewhat sentient as well. And I mean, Charles got assassinated at the beginning, but was then revived, because they had a whole thing about the 5 that could revive mutants, so death was not really an issue. Nothing out of the ordinary there.
Okay.
That was also the
sure.
That was also the era where Professor X had a really weird helmet. I think that was like a Cerebro in mobile form helmet. And he was walking during that one.
Well, Cerebro in mobile form would have been useful, but why would he have been walking?
Yeah, I mean, he wore a Reki Cerebro helmet and was walking. He kind of flips between wheelchair and walking in the comics, like a metronome. He does that.
Sure, I'm just not gonna question that.
Yeah, that's normal.
Further. Yeah. Is there time travel as well? Because, like in the comics, because we have time travel in the films, and with how many comics there are, I kind of expect there to be time travel as well.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Does it make more sense in the comics than it does in the films?
No.
As expected.
I mean, of course there's time travel. We are in Marvel.
Yeah, that's true.
The X-Men are part of Marvel.
Yeah.
Everything that the Avengers do, for example, affects the X-Men as well, kind of. Earth 616 has seen a lot of time travel, as well as many other universes. So yeah, every Marvel time travel track counts. But of course, the X-Men have done their own they have their own fair share of time travel shenanigans. I mean, they've
And
been
all of
around.
this is part of the sacred timeline.
You know this is here. They've been around since the 1960s. How much stuff do you think can happen in 60 to 70 years of comic history?
A lot of stuff that will only work with time traveling and multiverses.
Yeah. Yeah, so much for general comic stuff. I will mention a few titles during the film overview as well. Just a bit, some tidbits here and there, you know. For now,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Siren, yes.
Yes.
Cherik,
Cherik.
because that's important.
Yes.
But it's also complicated. Reading between the lines, ignoring the opinion of certain writers. If you audience are not interested, you can skip, I guess. But let's be real. The entire franchise is centered around Charles and Erik being lovers, quarreling over their differences in political opinion. And
Yes.
Wolverine being a badass.
Yeah, that too.
That's all there is to it. That is all there is to it.
Yes, that really is all there is to it. Wolverine, badass, Erik. I'm just thinking, is there more that I just can't remember? But I think that really is just it.
Yes, that's what the films are all about, which is, we will get into that. We will get into that because it's an issue.
Yes.
Now then, this entire section can be summed up in one sentence. Repeat after me, Cecilia. Strangers to friends to lovers to enemies to uneasy allies to friends to enemies to friends to enemies to friends to enemies to friends to lovers.
Okay, I will attempt this at least. Strangers to friends to lovers to enemies to uneasy allies to friends to enemies to friends to enemies to friends to enemies to friends to lovers.
Congrats. You got it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, but like I said, there's more than that. I'm not really going to go into the live action on screen portrayal that much. Just a little bit at the end, but not really. Mostly comic, because that's what I'm here for.
Yes, that's precisely what you're here for. So please, educate me and our audience on the comics.
Okay. Oh god. Okay. So, oh gosh. Yeah, like I may have mentioned, what little I did read of the X-Men comics was all for Charles and Xavier and Magnus / Max / Michael, Erik Lancer, maybe. Magneto's real name is a bit convoluted in the comics.
I can see that.
He went by Magnus for a long time in early comic history. Then he was given the name Erik Lancer, but Lancer is apparently not a Jewish name, so they retconned it to be an alias he took on and then made his original name Max Eisenhardt. Not that he was actually Jewish all the time in the comics. This has also got retconned at one point. I think it was Roma at one point or something. And then at some point it turned into Erik Magnus Lancer to explain why he was still being called Magnus. It's complicated. Depends on the comic writer. At one point, Magneto pretends to be Charles's cousin, Michael Xavier. But yeah, comic Charles refers to him as Magnus for the most part. I will refer to him as Erik because that's what Cecilia is familiar with.
Yes, I'm only familiar with the Erik because I haven't read the comics, but I see it's complicated as usual.
Always.
And when I watched the films, Erik's last name and how Americans pronounce it, Lancer, and I was just like, it's Lancer. Is it that they just can't they put the pause in the right spot? Why do they have to put it in the wrong spot? The pause should be between Lens and Hal, not between Len and Share.
Well, in English it would be share. Yeah, share. If you put it, if you put it like that, it would be Len share, but it's not
share. But it's not the pause comes after the S, so then it would be Lens her. They still wouldn't like a native speaker, but it would be close enough. Just put the pause in the right place, please.
Yeah, I'm assuming they never bothered. I mean, the German in the first few films is really quite bad in general.
Just put the pause in the right place and I wouldn't have minded. Is it so hard?
Right. So, unlike Simbrock, Cherik isn't strictly speaking comic canon, sadly enough. It is entirely subtext, sadly enough. Subtlety varies, but there's so much dialogue between these two that can be read as these two are so in love. They're definitely f***ing. I have to censor that. Sorry.
Know yourself to censor both of that.
Shoot. Anyway, pardon my language.
Yes.
Yeah. There are also quite a few scenes where actions speak very loudly for themselves. And here's the thing. You can love each other platonically and be willing to put down your life for one another without sex and romance being involved anyway. That is completely legit, and we actually need more friendships like that, especially between characters of opposite genders. But that's not what we're here to talk about, and old men in love, romantically this time, also need more representation.
True. Very much so.
So, in the comics, much like the films, Professor X and Magneto are enemies, obviously. We all know that. But they call each other old friends quite frequently, which we also have in the films.
Enemies that are also old friends.
Magneto also occasionally drops everything to go and save Professor X from danger. By the way, the story of Charles and Erik's first meeting and subsequent friendship involves a Holocaust survivor. I believe she was called Gabrielle. Charles helps her recover from her trauma and then dates her, ignoring the controversial aspect of that because she was his patient. The entire arc can be basically read as Cherik and that woman having a good time.
Well,
she's just there to be your token. Like, yeah, no, it's not gay at all. She also later has a kid with Charles. Whatever. Yeah, also Cherik discussing mutant philosophies in between. And there was a different comic issue that had a throwback to that time where they are showed getting into a bar fight together. Also very romantically coded. And then some evil people appear. Charles and Erik break up over their difference in political views. So sad. So sad.
Yeah.
Also this. Right here on screen.
Oh. Yeah. Yes. Happens.
Yeah, that happened. Not the first time Charles or anyone else died, and people don't really stay there in the comics. It's just, yep. There's a lot in the dialogue between the two. I don't have the time to go through that and pick it out for you. But I did find a very lovely article. It's in 5 parts. It's 5 articles that does this quite nicely. I link it in the description. Someone dedicated their time to sort through quite a lot of the comics, not all, obviously, and picked out a lot of the subtextual Cherik moments. So if you are a fan, go and read. I link it down below. It's so I have to. I looked for. I found someone, so I don't have to do it. But if you want to read,
nice.
But yeah, if you don't want to read, I'm here to sum it up. Yeah, like I said, subtext. Occasionally very on the nose subtext. Magneto also just likes to hang around Charles at the mansion, just as if he were not a big bad villain. On more than one occasion, he just hangs around.
Just like a friendly visit to an old friend.
Yeah. Also, oh, look here. Have another Charles is dying in Erik's arms like a tragic love story. The dialogue of this one is very, I can smell flowers in Erik. And, you have to take her off the school for me. Take over my legacy. No. This particular one also results in Magneto failing miserably to do exactly what Charles wants him to. And he's moping around Charles's portrait quite a lot, being really sad.
Oh, no.
But yeah, their so-called friendship is marked by a lot of casually hanging out, maybe dying in each other's arms. Some betrayal and bitter enemies sprinkled in here and there. Is Magneto a complex villain today or just irredeemably evil? Who knows? Also lots of domestic fluff. You know.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't, but yeah. Lovely. Yeah, the dying in each other's arms seems to happen quite frequently. How is that even possible?
A, comic. B, they don't actually always die. Sometimes it's just a near-death experience.
Severely injured.
Also, Charles at one point secretly helps a fugitive Magneto who is in hiding because some impersonator did some truly evil shit wearing his face or something. With domestic fluff. Oh, and did you know there's statues of them both in Genosha?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Excalibur was. So much more. Krakoa arc had some really nice background moments of them hanging out. The one I have not put in our notes, but will show on screen. I showed that to you yesterday, I believe. You know which one.
Could be.
Also matching husband outfits. Yeah, those are the matching husband outfits.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really quite on the nose sometimes. I'm looking at you, Excalibur. But also can still be read as entirely platonic, brotherly love at the end of the day. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I will leave up to other people. Yeah, comic Charles, film Charles, well, Cherik, I mean, comic Cherik, film Cherik. I believe I present to you
pictures.
Two very good friends.
Yeah, looks like very good friends.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
Yeah.
Ian McKellen married. Well, not. He was there for the marriage of Patrick Stewart and his wife. He officiated the marriage, so technically he married Patrick to his wife.
Nice.
Which in English can also mean something else, which is funny. And they're really, really good friends. And these two have such good chemistry. The romance practically writes itself. The younger
that's nice.
the younger set of Cherik actors as well. First Class is basically a strangers to friends to lovers to enemies story. And then the mutant kids get caught up in the beach divorce.
Yeah, beach divorce.
Yeah, X-Men First Class really set off the shipping frenzy, but we Cherik shippers did exist before that. And I sometimes read all the time, find it rather annoying that I need to leaf through all of the First Class-based fanfics to get to my old dudes in love sort of Cherik fix. It's quite hard. Even with text, it's really hard. It's sad.
Poor you.
Yeah, it's...
Poor you.
I just want old Cherik being in love. I occasionally do enjoy the First Class fan, but there's so much of it.
Yeah, I can see why there's so much of it, but I can also see why you would want some old man in love fanfiction.
I mean, I read the comics for the old dudes in love. I love the original trilogy for precisely that. And it's like, yeah, I appreciate the younger ones. They're awesome, but my fanfic, I want old people. Also,
life do be hard.
Also, looking at Dark Phoenix, the second one, they're supposed to be older in that one, but they weren't. So people kind of forget that at the end of it all, they're still old people in love. They just didn't age.
Aye.
They didn't freaking age.
Because they never age. No one ages.
But yeah,
age
so
was
films Charles is not easy to put into words because it's like comic Charles. Cherik. Like comic Cherik, film Cherik is all subtext. This one is a lot in the gestures, the way they interact with each other, look at each other. Also hidden in the dialogue, but you have to watch the films for that. I can't just put that in a podcast episode. Because I don't have time for that.
Yes.
That's all I have to say about film Cherik. But I want one honorable mention. The Marvel Meow Infinity comics.
Cats.
Yeah.
Nice.
This is, I think this is the 6th issue out of several. Number 6. Yeah, it's Marvel Meow. Marvel Meow is pretty old. The Infinity comics, I believe, were a newer rendition of it. Also, this is Krakoa era Charles and Erik, so you can see Charles with his weird Cerebro helmet. Yes, that's his outfit.
Yeah.
Erik has a really cool outfit in this one.
Yes. But Charles, just no. Cat.
Okay, that was the main chunk of this episode. Now we do the interlude, which will get interrupted and continue next episode, but anyway.
Okay.
Film interlude.
Film overview.
There's quite a few ways to go about the films. For watch order, I recommend release order.
You made me do that both times. Watch it in release order. The Marvel Cinematic Universe also works best in order of release. Otherwise, you might miss some context for some scene.
Especially post-credits. Especially.
Yes.
I, however, have sorted them by arc instead. Which is also a way to... If you've watched them before, then that one is also a good way to watch them, but not for the first time, because some of the post-credits don't... Or some scenes don't make sense. If you don't.
Context.
Yeah. Okay, so arcs are original trilogy, Wolverine trilogy, reboot, not a trilogy anymore, and Deadpool, which is now a trilogy as well.
Yes.
Anyway, we do original Wolverine now, reboot Deadpool next episode, and then inconsistency stuff. Okay, original trilogy is entirely pre-MCU release-wise. Because we are 2002, 4, 6, something. Anyway, in a moment. All the other X-Men films happened during the MCU era, but not the entire original Fox trilogy. So, first one is simply called X-Men. It's from the year 2000.
Simple enough.
8 years before the first MCU film, which was Iron Man, which came out in 2008.
8 years is quite a long time.
It is indeed for you humans. Also for me, now that I'm stuck here, because time moves so slowly for you.
True.
And then sometimes it does not. It's not linear. Anyway, The first X-Men film isn't really an adaptation of any comic story. That wasn't really a thing back then, to adapt a story arc from a comic. I don't know why. One sentence summary. I will give these for all them films. Rogue meets Wolverine and they join the X-Men to fight against Magneto and his Brotherhood of Evil Mutants to save humanity. Yes, they call themselves the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. They do that.
But they're not all that evil.
Originally, they just called themselves that. Later, writers realized, well, that's actually a bit, So they retconned it that it's meant to be ironic, but no, they just call themselves that. Unironically.
Why would you willingly call yourself evil?
Yeah, it's wacky Silver Age comics.
Hey.
Everyone's so young in this one. Looking back. Look at this. A young Hugh Jackman doing his first of many Wolverines. By the way, he's Australian.
Yes, I know.
He held the record of longest career of a live-action Marvel character until 2022. Because by the time Multiverse of Madness had came out, he had officially retired with the Logan film. And then the title was handed over to Patrick Stewart, Professor X. He might get it back now, maybe, with the Deadpool and Wolverine film.
Maybe.
I don't know. Also, I did not realize this. He sang several songs for The Greatest Showman because he was the main character in that one. And I never realized this, despite having one or two of those songs in my Spotify playlist.
Well, I also have multiple songs of that in my Spotify playlist. And I also never realized until you told me. And I opened Spotify and looked at the playlist and those specific songs. I was like, yes, you're right. How did I never notice?
Yeah, it's just a few days ago. I looked at this. I went to skip the song and I saw the name and I was like, wait. And then I looked it up. Is it the same one? Yes, it's the same Hugh Jackman because he played the... Oh my gosh. Anyway, Professor X, played by Patrick Stewart. Excellent one. Not exactly comic accurate, but for the film, excellent film portrayal. Excellent. I love what they did with the character. Also, a lovely British accent, even though Charles Xavier is supposed to be American, but they retconned it in the films because they wanted to keep the accent. They made him like, he's nice. He's like kind of born and somewhat raised, or born American, raised British, or born and raised, I don't know, but they made him kind of British so they could keep the lovely accent. Ian McKellen is, by the way, also British, and I'm all in favor of not giving Erik a German accent. And these two have such good chemistry.
They do. They do.
Yeah, as the main cast, these three, the Wolverine, Professor X, and Magneto actors, they are so good in their roles. It's incredible.
Yes.
The rest is meh. Just meh.
Me. But yeah, my take on the film. Good film, in my opinion. Clear plotline to follow. Good variety of mutations to look at. There's still more to the universe that we don't know, which is also nice. Like who experimented on Logan, for example. And at the end is a promise from Erik that we will get a sequel. That, we also know that it isn't that simple because nothing is ever really simple. So, more than just one sequel.
This is one of the better films for sure. Definitely.
Yes. Nice beginning.
In and of itself, very good. Actually, pretty good film. Where they took it is, however, a bit. It's like the first film. It's not an issue that we focus on Charles, Erik, and Wolverine especially. It's fine, but they kept doing that.
We have to establish the characters.
They kept doing it. So 2003, X2 picked up whatever it liked from the comics and mixed it together. So yeah. This one is it's kind of a bit based on the comics, more than the first one. One sentence summary. X-Men and Magneto's crew versus William Stryker to save mutant kind.
Yeah.
So Jean and Logan still have zero chemistry and the entire plot could have just been scrapped, but okay.
Yes.
I was not fine with it in the first one. I was even less fine with it in the second, and the third one is... Also, Jean and Scott don't have any chemistry either, but who cares? Oh, yeah, we are supposed to care, because that's important for the third one.
Are we really?
Yeah, we're supposed to care about these characters, about Jean and her
I know, but the films didn't.
No, they didn't make you,
a
and
good
that's
job.
Especially the third one suffers from this. I forgot to mute my phone. I'm sorry. Yeah. Also, Nightcrawler appears in this one. And I was like looking at it and I was like, wait, Nightcrawler was Mystique's biological son. But I remember him both being the son of Azazel, the Red Demon one who appeared in First Class, and Destiny, who you have not met. And then I was like, okay, let me look that up real quick. So I looked it up.
And then tell me now.
Well, Cherik technically isn't canon, but Mystique has a wife.
Nice.
Called Irene Adler, aka Destiny.
Well, sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Irene Adler, yes, is a character from the other Conan Doyle, not comics, books about Sherlock Holmes. And there is a comic run where Mystique gave herself an identity called Sherlock Holmes and played detective.
Oh, that is nice.
Yes.
That is nice.
Because that was a play on the Irene Adler thing. Yeah, there was some mindfuckery with Charles that meant for convenient convoluted family history retconning, which normal day in Marvel. Charles and Erik's families get a lot of these as well. So originally it was Mystique with some dude called Wagner getting a child called Kurt Wagner. Kurt Wagner, who is Nightcrawler. But then it turns out that Mystique had an affair with the demon lord Azazel, who's a super old mutant that appeared to humans as a demon in history. And then, no, it turns out that wasn't actually what happened. What happened was that Mystique, as the father, assimilated Wagner and Azazel, and then Destiny was the mum. And they just pretended that Mystique pretended to be pregnant at the time so they could pass off their child as hers. But she was the father, and Destiny was the mum. And because she kind of assimilated Wagner and Azazel, that's why Nightcrawler is who he is, apparently.
Sure.
Yeah,
why not?
Just people changing Nightcrawler's history. Nightcrawler's pretty cool. Also, a lot of people ship Nightcrawler with Logan, Wolverine. I haven't figured out why.
Okay.
But I like it. I'm sure there's a good reason. I just haven't read the comic issues of it. Anyway. If Professor X weren't such a goody two-shoes, he would be a terrifying villain. I really said in this one. And then I side-eyed the comics because that happened, actually.
Yes.
He's a terrifying villain.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine that.
Okay, question, Cecilia.
Yes.
That huge syringe of iron should have killed the poor guard dude, right? Iron poisoning is a thing for you humans, right?
Yes, that is a thing. It definitely should have killed that poor guard. But it was at least cool that we got a scene that the extra iron got picked up by the metal detector. That was nice to see. But yeah, it should technically have killed the poor guy.
Also, what I love in these films, old Magneto's fine control is so impressive.
Oh, yes.
The guns in the first film, the iron from the blood and other inside. Wow, they did a really good job.
Yes, they really did. Okay,
most importantly, X2 has a cat. A fluffy cat licking Logan's claws.
Yeah, kitty cat makes noise. Logan gets his claws out. Cat goes to lick and inspect the claws. Not intimidated at all, because why would the cat be? Good cat. It's a very good cat. The cat also licks at the frozen tea. The cat has such good taste.
This is one of the best X-Men films, in my opinion. It's not perfect.
It's not perfect,
but it's pretty good.
It's good.
But then came X-Men: The Last Stand. 2006. Yes. 2 years before Iron Man. I can sum that up pretty quick. Dark Phoenix saga, but done badly. So, Dark Phoenix is regarded as one of the best comic arcs in history. The films definitely messed that up. Twice. But hey, we get a Beast. Yes. Where have you been all the last two films? But hey, hello, Beast.
Hello.
Yeah, Jean and Logan is still the worst decision they ever made. Also, hello, age difference. Not that it has ever stopped anyone in the comics, because Jean and Logan had a thing in the comics. And Rogue also had a thing with Magneto at one point, but also still being torn about Gambit. And these are just two examples out of many.
Yeah.
Also, Charles is really OOC, out of character in this one, compared to his characterization in the previous 2 films. He's not OOC in comic context, just film context. He is not out of character in comic context, but yeah, film context, compared to the previous 2, he's really out of character in this one.
Happens, you know.
It's like, I did not mind the way they characterized him. I liked that, but now they just went comic route, and that doesn't fit. Also, Magneto would have totally mourned Charles's death. Has no one here read the comics? Excuse you. Charles dies, Magneto would have mourned him.
You know, but we do see a look of absolute horror on Magneto's face when Jean is about to disintegrate Charles. Or like, no, don't kill the love of my life, please.
Maybe. I didn't get that impression. I thought it was more like Erik being afraid for his own life. And after that, it's just, yeah, we're fine. And I'm like, that doesn't check
also
out.
Be the case.
He should mourn Charles. All in all,
leave me to my all head canon interpretation, you know.
All in all, this was a really bad film.
Yeah, there were so many moments where I was supposed to care, but I just didn't.
Yep.
So,
I mean, this applies to everything, not just the original trilogy, the entire franchise. Like, first, they ignore the comics entirely. Then they suddenly try to adapt some big comic plot lines without actually setting them up properly. Which I think might... I mean, I would have thought it might have come from the MCU's popularity and the rising need to connect everything and such, but the MCU was not... We are, like, first trilogy before the MCU, so that doesn't apply to... It's already started here with Last Stand, right? Could make the excuse for the later ones, but not for this one. And it didn't work.
Nope.
It's just... Yeah, they adapted Dark Phoenix twice, and they failed twice. Because...
3 times the charm?
No. And mainly, they just never really set up the driving force behind the story. Cyclops is Gina's characters we should care about, and backstory, and connecting it, and foreshadowing and all stuff. In both versions, they didn't do that. They always focus on Wolverine so much that he's the only one most people care about in the film franchise. And yes, he is good. The actor is amazing, but you can't just put it all on one single character.
It's Wolverine and Cherik, in my opinion. Yeah, those are the only ones I really care about.
Yeah, and Cherik, because they have such good chemistry, but even they weren't really set up all that well.
Yeah, true.
And I mean, X-Men First Class managed to do just fine with just the one Wolverine cameo. It focused on... it focused on young Cherik instead.
Yes.
Although I will never stop missing old Charles and Erik. But yeah, see? But we cared, or personally me, I cared a bit more about the side characters in X-Men First Class compared to the films that came before.
Yes.
It made me care more about like Moira and the kids and stuff. Even Shaw, you know, as a villain.
Wow.
I appreciated him. He was wacky and stupid and an idiot, but you know.
Yeah, you know.
It's like, yeah, the entire franchise is just focused on Wolverine, Charles, and Erik, and for some reason Mystique. And those characters are awesome, but I mean, of course they are. They are the focus.
Yes. Focus characters have to be awesome. And now if only Mystique had a cool comic outfit.
Oh, yes. Yeah, and then they occasionally try to focus on Jean and the other characters, but they just don't manage it. Except for the main. The others are just also bland, flavorless. They don't taste good. And I don't need to read the comics to tell you that the film's portrayals do not do any of them justice. I mean, Rogue is my best case in point there. Anyway, all of this to say that X-Men The Last Stand is garbage.
Kick it in the trash can.
Yes. Okay, Wolverine Side Adventures?
Wolverine Side Adventures.
We start with X-Men Origins Wolverine from 2009. One sentence summary is we get a Wolverine growing up, becoming a steel trap and fighting his brother and Stryker. So they tried to adapt Wolverine's story, but... well...
I could have done a better job.
Yeah.
We only see glimpses of Logan's childhood. Nothing about what happened right after they ran away. How did they even survive? They were just children at that point. We see glimpses of wars, but not really how the Wolverine nickname came to be. when and where exactly did it start? Or did I just miss that? So, we don't really know anything about the brother, Sabretooth. He's just there, and we get to see that he loves violence.
Yeah, what we needed was an entire film about the background. Not whatever it actually is. What we needed was like the montage in the first part, an entire film about that.
Yes, exactly. It's called Origins Wolverine. Give us actually the Wolverine origins, not just a montage of it.
Well, we have a Wade. We have a Ryan Reynolds Wade.
Yes.
He actually played the role in the first time it appeared. But this film is so weird, it makes no sense. And there is no Deadpool in there. No, there is no Deadpool in there.
I saw no Deadpool in there. There was none.
I mean, Jackman is as great as ever because of course he is.
Of course he is.
I can see the parts they picked from the comics in it, but it's like puzzle pieces that don't belong together. And I believe, if I remember correctly, Victor, the film character Victor, aka Sabretooth, is a merge of at least two characters. There's a Victor Creed in the comics, and then there's Doc, like the childhood version of Victor Creed in the films. That's, I believe, was a character called Doc in the films. The role with like the dad, who was not actually the dad, and yada yada yada. It's complicated, but Victor Creed was not Logan's brother in the films, in the comics. Sorry, comics.
Yeah, we didn't get a proper origin story. The title also made me wonder because there is only one X-Men Origins film. The title would suggest that we will get a film series, or multiple origin films. Turns out Origins Wolverine didn't make enough money. Getting double the production cost at the box office is apparently not considered enough. Since Wolverine is the most popular character, they expected even less sales for the planned Origins Magneto. To which I say I would have loved an Origins Magneto, because Magneto is one of the characters I actually care about.
Yeah, but like this film was so bad. What did they expect? That non-existent Red Bull was a travesty. Of course it didn't do well.
Yeah, they could have expected that. So they scrapped the Origins Magneto film. They decided to bring Bryan Singer back, the director of the first two films, and he made First Class, which made even less money than Origins Wolverine at the box office. But that was apparently something they expected, so it was fine because it was planned as a setting up the universe again, a new setup, so that they could then make more monies with the films following First Class.
A reboot.
A reboot.
I mean, X-Men First Class is not bad. Actually, a pretty decent film.
Yeah, it is a pretty decent film.
If you say no, we are in a different universe now, but yeah. The Magneto film could have gone either way. Super popular, absolute fail. So.
Yeah, but it's Magneto. I would have loved a Magneto film.
We got enough of. I mean, they did put his origin story in First Class again.
Yeah.
We got next. And this is where we go out of release order because I'm going by arc. The Wolverine from 2013. My one sentence summary is Wolverine in Japan. Because that's it.
3-word summary.
Yeah, 3-word summary. That's pretty much sums it up.
Yes, it does.
Did you know at one point Logan trained the Black Widow? He also had encounters with Blade, Bucky Barnes, Nick Fury, and Captain America, and all of this long before he even joined the X-Men. I think even long before he got his adamantium. He was also an Avenger for a time.
I didn't know that.
No, Logan Wolverine, he traveled a lot. That's how he found himself in Japan. That was just one of his many travel destinations. Happened to be there during wartime.
Wow. I expected him to be sent there as a soldier. But
no, he traveled. I mean, it depends on which comic you read. Because of course it does.
Yes, of course it does.
I don't really know what to think of this film, to be honest.
I have one thing to say about this, because the scene at the end where Logan loses his claws and they suck out his healing factor or whatever it is they're doing makes no sense.
Yep, it makes no sense.
The entire explanation they give us is nonsense.
Yep.
So it makes no sense.
That makes no sense. Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Last one of this is Logan from 2017. This one is
Hugh Jackman
also...
retired.
Is that a 2-sentence or a 3-sentence summary? Bye-bye, Logan.
We can count it as one sentence.
No, I mean words.
That's one.
2 words or 3 words. Is bye-bye 1 word or 2 words? If I say goodbye, Logan, then it's a 2-word summary.
Then it's a 2-word summary. I mean, I would actually say it's 3-word summary.
It's accurate. That's what it is.
Bye-bye, Logan. I mean, Hugh Jackman did announce that Logan will be his retirement film from the role.
Yeah, that's what this film is about. But in a second.
Bye-bye, Logan.
I was sitting there the entire time wondering when did he get his adamantium back on his claws. But who cares?
Yeah, because the claws were cut off in the Wolverine. It's like, how did he get his claws back? Anyways,
I mean, I have an explanation for that, but yeah.
Yeah, who cares? We are apparently in 2029, and this film came out right after Apocalypse, and I'm confused. Enlighten me, Nightshade.
Yes, it is the year 2029, some nebulous future that's actually not that far away now anymore. We are in an alternate future, separate from Days of Future Past. Which is how you can explain everything, because this is not main universe, neither of the 2 main timelines that we get. We have a old demented Charles who accidentally killed the X-Men and thousands of other mutants, and some evil guys put an X gene suppressant in the food and the water, so no new ones have been born in a while. This information is in the film, but it's very easy to miss. But it is in the film, and it explains what situation we are actually facing and how this makes sense, what we are in right now, right? Why there is no one around anymore.
I picked up on the clues afterwards, I believe. But maybe that will come later in the notes.
Yeah, the film doesn't really fit in the main timelines at all. It is set apart. It even has its own Earth number. But yeah, that doesn't matter. The film is just... It's a really good film to send Jackman as Logan off. That's what it's about. That's what it is about. End of story. It's its own separate universe, just to send the character off. And then we thought this would be the end of it, but no, Jackman's got to play Wolverine until he's 19 now. Thanks, Deadpool.
Thank you, Deadpool.
Yeah. One of the best X-Men films, but I personally didn't really enjoy it all that much, because a good film doesn't mean you enjoy it, and enjoying it doesn't mean it's good, unfortunately.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this character death is actually sad for once, because I do care about Logan. Really sad. Please don't die on us, Logan. And then he was dead all of a sudden. And on this Earth at least. It's all I can say about that now. This Wolverine is dead.
No more Logan. Never mind, we got another one.
Yes, we got another one, because he has to play the role until he is 90 years old.
Ouch. Ouch.
You good?
No. Ow.
No.
I hurt my elbow just there. Stupid table.
Well, good thing that we are going to end the episode here.
Yeah, my gosh, that hurts.
Then you can take a break and, hopefully not hurt anymore.
That hurts.
Cuddle a cat. Let's get to the outro, then you can cuddle a cat.
Okay, oh gosh. You can find us on X, Twitter, Spotify, and YouTube at Toffees. I also play games live on Saturdays with Cecilia, joined via chat over on Twitch. Occasionally post random art, both, on Instagram, but Twitch and Instagram is Nightshade. Ow.
Yeah. You now, by now, also sometimes stream on Sundays, but that is...
true.
Well, not regularly.
Yes.
It's,
Yes.
And if you enjoyed this episode, leave us a comment. In which order did you watch the films? Have you read the comics?
Part 2 will continue where we left off. Until then.
Yeah, with the interlude.
Until then, bye.
Until then, bye.